Hello, my friends. How are you all today? I wanted to come in and make a really quick video because I saw somebody with a pit bull today, and it just kind of brought this to my memory because I could see that the animal was being used as a breeding dog, and that is more and more something that I'm very conscious about, is people using animals as breeding dogs, because there's so many animals, you guys, that are put to death every year because of breeding. People breed and people pay for those dogs instead of going and getting a dog from a shelter or a rescue. And so, but my point is this: when it comes to pit bulls, you're paying anywhere from $200 to $600 per puppy, okay? But this is what they don't tell you. This is what comes along with that high price tag for that pit bull puppy. And things that I wish I would have realized when I got a pit bull, because we've really had to go through a lot of these trials on our own. Number one, they're incredibly strong dogs. So when they're puppies, they're super sweet, they're super cute, but when they're older, if you don't train them properly when they're young, they are incredibly strong dogs, and they will pull you right down the street if they see something they want to go after. So that leads me to number two. Training is crucial. When you buy that puppy, so many pit bulls end up in the pound because they're uncontrollable, because people don't realize how important it is to train those pit bulls. Pit bulls are very strong, and if you don't train them, they will run over you. They're one of the sweetest dog breeds. That's number three. They are one of the most sweetest dog breeds. And yes, they are very protective, but they're only protective in a violent way if they're trained to be so. So keep that in mind. You don't necessarily have a bloodthirsty pit bull on your hand because you have a pit bull. I've had my pit bull for 8 years. She barely even barks. She doesn't nip at people. She's incredibly gentle. She's just a big baby. And I think that goes back to the way that you train them. Number four, own your house. Seriously, I'm not even playing. Own your house. As a renter, I am shocked at the discrimination against renters with pit bulls. And for that matter, pit bulls, Rottweilers, Dobermans, all of these dogs, there are only violent dogs if they're trained to be so. They're just like any other dog. If you don't train them to attack, if you don't train them to be ferocious, then they're not going to just be ferocious because they're a certain breed of dog. So keep that in mind. Own your house. There are entire towns in this country that have banned the ownership of pit bull dogs. It's one of the reasons we didn't go to a place called Aurora, Colorado, is because we wouldn't have been able to take our dog. That leads me to my next point. If you get a pit bull, or any dog for that matter, you don't have the luxury to simply abandon that dog because of your situation. I am so tired of the mindset that says that animals are expendable. Animals are not expendable. They are living beings that have needs and rely on you, just like children. If you get an animal and you can't care for that animal, I'm not above anybody trying to rehome an animal. That's absolutely okay. There's just certain times that Maybe you get an animal and you just don't vibe with that animal's personality. Maybe they need something else from an owner. Maybe they're too excitable for you. Maybe they require too much movement and exercise. And maybe you have a very busy life and you can't give that animal what they need. Then by all means, find that animal a new home. I had to do that with Roxy because she was not getting what she needed from me as an individual. She needed more exercise, she needed more playtime, she needed more direction and training, and we were gone 12 hours a day. There was just no way, there was no time. So I took the time, I paid the money for the website to put her up for adoption, and I found her a new home with a young couple who wanted a dog specifically for those reasons, so they could take a dog hiking with them and take them for a walk and all of that stuff. And they're absolutely madly in love with her. She was a great dog. She just wasn't a great dog for me. So I found her a new home. But you can't, you guys, don't fool yourself. You cannot drop an animal off at the pound and be like, oh, somebody else will adopt them. No, they don't get love in there. They don't get the care that they need. They don't get the training that they need. And then they end up getting readopted out. And God knows what happens to that animals. You know, there's so many crazy people out there that like to use animals for dog fighting and for bait dogs and all of this stuff. You've got to be more responsible. We've got to do better as human beings with animals, you guys. Gone are the days where you can just move away and leave your cat there and just hope that somebody takes care of them. Somebody might take care of them. Somebody might take that cat and do ritualistic abuse on it. You just don't know. Somebody might take that cat and they're actually hosting dog fights and they drop the cat in the pen to get the dogs all worked up. You don't know what's going to happen, and you once loved that pet, so love them enough to make sure that they're going to be taken care of going forward. But with pit bulls in particular, I see this over and over and over and over and over again. They're adorable little puppies. They're so cute. Oh my God, I wish I could have 100 of them. But then they grow up and they eat a lot and they require a lot and they require your attention. They require your training. All of these things. The animals are too hyper for you, you get rid of them. You have a bad living situation, you get rid of them. You know, it's like, and they have almost made it impossible to rent a home if you own a pit bull. So just keep these things in mind when you go and you get that dog. I actually had taken a dog off of somebody's hands off of Craigslist that turned out to be a very mentally unstable dog and actually did need to be picked up by animal control because I was afraid for me and my kids. He was maybe 1 or 2 years old. The lady had moved into some apartment and they told her she couldn't have the dog and she had to get rid of the dog. So she put the dog on Craigslist. She did not divulge that the dog had some mental triggers and the dog did not like men, and I had 2 boys in the house. She didn't mention any of those things, and she just put the dog out there on Craigslist for anybody to take. Good to free to a good home. You know, that's not responsible, you guys. That's not responsible, and they probably ended up having to put that dog to sleep because I don't know what kind of trauma that dog faced in her home, but there was clearly something wrong with the dog because, it was a bad situation. So, bottom line is, if you're going to take a pit bull, just know that there is a laundry list of things to consider other than that dog is cute. Okay? And stop breeding these dogs, you guys. There's enough pit bulls to repopulate the earth 5 times. Okay? And sadly, many of them are sitting in shelters getting euthanized because some person continues to breed their dog and sell the puppies. And so instead of going to the pound and getting a 6-month-old puppy that just needs some training, you'll go and you'll buy the brand new puppy. So, and I'm not throwing stones. I've done the same thing in the past too. But this is seriously something I'm very convicted by now. It's getting out of control more and more every year. And the animal situation is just, it's just sad, you guys. It's just sad. And the culture of not properly caring for our animals and providing for our animals is also really sad. So I hope as a human species, we can do better at guarding and protecting our animals. I'm not saying we have to idolize them and carry them around in a purse like Paris Hilton does. But I am saying that you need to value that animal. You were given a very prestigious job by God to care for animals, right? So let's do better as human beings. And if you can't do better, then don't own animals. But I don't know. I just wanted to put this video out because I could tell this lady was using this dog as a breeder. And anybody can look up animals for adoption online. I will tell you 90% of those animals will be pit bulls because they're discriminated against. People don't know what they're getting into when they get the dog. They don't have enough room for the dog. The dog goes insane sitting in an apartment. Just all kinds of stuff. And it's all stuff that you need to be aware of before you get that dog. All right. That's all I wanted to say. I hope you all have a great weekend. Love y'all. Shalom.